Have you ever thought about what your tea bag is made of? Today, I'm counting down 10 teas sold in Aussie supermarkets that usually aren't worth your money, and what to buy instead. This isn't panic, it's smarter shopping. Number 10. Lipton. A lot of people buy this out of habit. It's familiar, it's inexpensive, and it's been in Australian kitchens for decades. If that's why it ends up in your trolley, that's completely understandable. This isn't about safety. What you're giving up here is value. Most of the bags use very fine tea dust, often called fannings. Those tiny particles brew extremely fast, which gives you quick colour and bitterness, but not much depth or staying power. That's why it goes bitter quickly, doesn't rebrew well, and tastes flat if the bag sits in the cup even a little too long. If you drink tea every day, this adds up. You use more bags, throw them out sooner, and get less usable flavour per cup. It works if speed and familiarity are the priority. It's just not a strong, long-term value choice. Before we hit number 9, here's the simple framework I'll use the whole way through, because it explains why 2 teas can cost the same, but drink totally differently. A budget is fine, but you're accepting small leaf pieces and less control. Better usually means clearer ingredients and a better cup for the money. Best is fewer compromises, often loose leaf or clearly plastic-free bags. You don't need the best tea, you just need to know what you're trading off. And one rule, if the bag looks like clear mesh or a silky pyramid, assume it's plastic-based unless the box clearly says otherwise. Back to the countdown. Number 9. Twinings. This one feels premium to a lot of shoppers, and to be fair, some of the blends are genuinely enjoyable. Where it gets interesting is in the flavoured varieties. If you look closely at the ingredient lists, you'll often see a heavy reliance on natural flavours, rather than visible fruit pieces, herbs or spices. That doesn't make it unsafe. What it means is you're often paying more for aroma than for leaf quality. Natural flavours are designed to smell and taste appealing quickly, especially when the tea is hot, but they don't necessarily add brewing depth, rebrew potential, or long-term value. If you enjoy flavoured teas and like how this tastes, that's completely fine. The important part is simply knowing what you're paying for. Number 8. Bushels. This one is a true Australian staple. A lot of people grew up with it, and if it's been part of your routine for years, that makes complete sense. Again, this isn't a safety issue. Where it falls short is value per cup. Like many mass-market bagged teas, the leaf is cut very fine. That means tannins release quickly, bitterness arrives early, and the strength doesn't last very long. If you drink multiple cups a day, this adds up. You end up paying more per usable cup than you realise. It feels inexpensive at the checkout, but over time it often costs more than it looks. Number 7. Nirada Bagged. The biggest positive here is that it's Australian grown. That matters to a lot of shoppers, and it's genuinely worth acknowledging. The limitation shows up in the bagged versions. They still rely on very small leaf cuts, which means you're supporting local production, but not necessarily getting better brewing quality. This is a good reminder that reputation alone isn't enough. The form of the tea matters just as much as where it comes from. Because the real story in this video isn't the logo on the box. It's what the tea looks like once you open it. Number 6. Tetley. This is often described as strong. But strong doesn't always mean high quality. In tea, strength is frequently created by smaller particles, not better leaves. Smaller particles release tannins very quickly, which creates a bold, bitter taste almost immediately. What that costs you over time is bitterness and a much shorter drinking window. Some people enjoy that punch. Many don't realise it's masking lower leaf quality. If you've ever wondered why certain teas taste harsh no matter how carefully you brew them, particle size is usually the reason. Number 5. Madura Tea Bagged. This brand is best known for its organic positioning, and organic sourcing does matter to many shoppers. The main downside here is the price premium. If you drink tea occasionally, that premium might feel justified. But if you're having several cups a day, the bagged versions often don't deliver enough everyday benefit to justify the extra cost. organic matters. It's just not the only factor that determines whether a tea is good value. Number 4. Detox and Cleanse teas. These blends are marketed around digestion and cleansing, which is why a lot of people reach for them. This isn't about danger. The issue is how they're used. Many of these rely on senna, a natural laxative ingredient. Senna has a legitimate purpose, but it's designed for occasional use, not daily drinking. These teas aren't bad. They're just not everyday teas. When they're treated like a normal cup of tea, they're being used outside their intended role. Number 3. Pyramid and mesh tea bags. This sounds technical, but it's actually one of the simplest shelf decisions you can make, and one of the easiest upgrades without changing brands. These bags look premium. They feel modern and they're often positioned as higher quality. The key difference comes down to the material. Many of these bags are made using synthetic polymers. Peer-reviewed lab studies have found that some materials can release micro and nanoplastic particles when brewed. That doesn't automatically make it a problem. It simply means some shoppers prefer to reduce exposure where it's easy to do so. If the bag looks like plastic, it usually is, unless the brand clearly says otherwise. This is a good moment to pause and reset. You're not bad at shopping. Tea is confusing because packaging signals quality but rarely explains trade-offs. Premium visuals don't necessarily mean premium leaf. Familiar brands don't always offer good long-term value. That's why the budget, better, best framework works. It gives you a way to think clearly without overthinking. Before we finish the countdown, it helps to understand why so much tea on supermarket shelves looks premium, but delivers very similar results in the cup. Supermarkets are designed to reward familiarity and speed, not careful evaluation. Most shoppers spend only a few seconds in the tea aisle. That means packaging has to do most of the work. Bright colours, heritage logos, and words like classic, pure, or signature blend signal comfort and trust. None of those words tell you anything meaningful about leaf size, brewing quality, or long-term value. Bagged tea dominates shelf space because it solves a retail problem. It's consistent, lightweight, easy to stack, and easy to price aggressively. Loose-leaf tea takes up more space, requires more explanation, and sells more slowly, even when it offers better value per cup. Private label and mass-market brands also compete heavily on price per box, not price per cup. That pushes producers toward finer leaf cuts because smaller particles extract faster and create the impression of strength with less material. This is why so many teas taste similar once you strip away the branding. They're optimized for speed, appearance, and shelf efficiency, not for how people actually drink tea over time. Understanding this doesn't mean you should distrust everything on the shelf. It simply explains why good tea decisions are rarely obvious at first glance. Now these last two are the ones that catch people out because they look like upgrades. Number 2. T2 bagged lines. The loose leaf versions here are genuinely excellent. That's important to acknowledge first. Where things fall short is with the bagged lines. When you buy the bags, you're paying boutique prices mostly for convenience and branding, not for better leaf inside the cup. If you like the taste and convenience matters to you, that's completely fine. Just know that the real quality from this brand shows up in the loose leaf range, not the bags. Number 1. Ultra cheap home brand tea bags. These exist for one main reason: price. And if price is the only thing that matters, that choice is understandable. What you're giving up is leaf quality. These are usually made from the lowest grades available, which go bitter quickly, don't rebrew, and stretch poorly over time. If you drink tea every day, they often end up being the worst value, not the best. Here's the good news. You don't need expensive tea to do better, you just need the right kind of better for how you actually drink it. To understand why so many everyday teas feel disappointing, you need to understand tea leaf size. Tea is graded after processing. At one end of the spectrum, you have whole or large broken leaves. At the other end, you have fannings and dust, the smallest particles left after sorting. Smaller particles brew faster because they have more surface area. That's why many bagged teas darken quickly. But fast extraction also means fast collapse. The flavour peaks quickly, bitterness follows, and there's nothing left to develop. Larger leaf pieces extract more slowly. They release flavour in stages, which gives you a smoother cup, more aroma, and the ability to rebrew without harshness. This is why bitterness is often mistaken for strength. A bitter tea isn't necessarily strong, it's usually over-extracting low-grade particles. From a value perspective, this matters a lot. If a tea goes bitter in 1 minute and can't be reused, you end up using more bags or more product over time. Loose leaf tea often feels more expensive up front, but stretches further because it holds up across multiple brews. This isn't about becoming a tea expert. It's about understanding that most everyday disappointment comes from particle size, not from how carefully you brew. Once you know this, many supermarket tea choices suddenly make sense, and so do the alternatives. So what should you actually buy after all of this? Here's how to apply it without changing how you shop. If price is the main constraint, don't focus on brands. Focus on cut size and simplicity. Plain black or green teas, shorter ingredient lists, and paper-based bags tend to give better value per cup than heavily flavoured options at the same price. If you want the best everyday balance, look for teas with clearer ingredients and fewer add-ons. Bags are still fine here, just aim for blends where the flavour comes from the tea itself, not from long lists of added aromas. If tea is part of your daily routine and you want the fewest compromises, that's where loose leaf and a simple infuser make sense. You get more control, less bitterness, and better value over time, without needing anything fancy. No rules, just matching the tea to how you actually drink it. Loose leaf tea often ends up cheaper because you use less per cup and can rebrew. Bitterness usually comes from particle size, not strength. Reading tea labels takes about 30 seconds. Shorter ingredient lists, fewer flavour additives, and clearer sourcing language usually mean better value. Australia regulates food through Food Standards Australia-New Zealand. Legal doesn't mean best value. It means you still choose what matters to you. Everything discussed here is sold legally in Australia and regulated under Australian food standards. When materials are mentioned, we're referring to packaging and processing choices, not unsafe ingredients in tea. Some tea bags use synthetic materials, and laboratory research has shown that certain materials can shed microscopic particles when exposed to heat. That doesn't mean the tea is unsafe. It simply explains why some people prefer alternatives when they're easy to choose. For example, laboratory studies have found that some tea bags made from polymer-based materials, such as nylon or polypropylene, can release measurable amounts of microplastic and nanoplastic particles when steeped in hot water. These studies measure particle release under controlled lab conditions, not health outcomes in people. Importantly, there is currently no deep clinical or long-term research showing that drinking tea from bags at normal everyday consumption levels causes illness or disease. These studies don't prove harm. They explain a materials exposure that some shoppers simply prefer to minimise when there's an easy alternative. This is just one factor among many. For most shoppers, taste, value, and how often you drink tea matter far more. The goal here isn't fear, it's informed choice. For many Australians, tea is one of the most habitual purchases in the supermarket. People rarely stand in front of the tea shelf comparing options the way they do with coffee, olive oil, or even breakfast cereal. Tea is often treated as a background item, something you grab because you always have. That habit is exactly why the tea aisle looks the way it does. When shoppers don't actively compare products, packaging becomes more important than performance. Brands compete on familiarity, colour, and emotional comfort, rather than on how well the tea actually holds up across multiple cups. This is why so many teas are designed to taste good enough quickly. Fast colour, fast bitterness, fast aroma. It creates the impression of strength and value in the first minute, even if the experience collapses after that. Over time, This conditions people to believe that bitterness is normal, that oversteeping ruins tea, and that weak second cups are unavoidable. None of that is inherently true. It's just a result of how most supermarket tea is processed. Once you understand this, it becomes clear why upgrading even slightly can change your daily experience without changing your budget. Loose leaf tea is often framed as something only enthusiasts care about, but that framing misses the practical reality. Loose leaf tea simply uses larger pieces of leaf. That's it. Larger leaf pieces extract more slowly and evenly, which gives you more control over taste. It also means the tea doesn't collapse into bitterness the moment you forget about it. From a cost perspective, this matters more than most people realise. When tea holds up across multiple brews, or even just one longer brew without turning harsh, you end up using less product overall. This is why loose leaf tea often feels more expensive up front, but quietly costs less over time. You don't need special equipment. A basic infuser works. You don't need to measure precisely. You just need slightly better raw material. That's not luxury, that's efficiency. One of the biggest themes in this video is convenience. Bagged tea isn't bad because it's bagged. It's bad when the convenience masks lower quality and higher long-term cost. Every layer of convenience, pre-cut leaf, sealed bags, individual wrapping, decorative packaging, has to be paid for. When the retail price stays low, that cost usually comes out of the tea itself. This is why many premium-looking teas still perform like budget products in the cup. Once you see convenience as a trade-off rather than a free bonus, the shelf starts to look very different. The goal of this video isn't to turn you into a label-obsessed shopper. It's to help you make one calm decision at the shelf. Instead of asking, "Is this good or bad?" ask, "What am I paying for here? Is it the leaf? Is it the packaging? Is it the flavouring? Is it the convenience?" Once you answer that, the right choice becomes obvious for you, not for someone else. Here's how to choose tea without overthinking. First, look at the bag material. Second, check the ingredient list length. Third, decide whether you want budget, better, or best. No panic, just better choices. If this helped, you don't need better tea. You just need clearer information. If you want more Australian supermarket clarity like this, hit like, subscribe, and tell me in the comments what tea you buy and which state you're in. I'll see you in the next one.